Welcome back to another episode of the HR Leaders Podcast, the show where we explore the future of work with industry experts and HR executives from the world's leading global brands. Today we have a special guest that needs no introduction, but I'm going to give one anyway. We're joined by Marshall Goldsmith, the #1 executive coach, speaker, author, and professor of management practice. Welcome to the show, Marshall. How are you?
Happy to be here.
It's nice to see you. Nice to see you. How have you been, first and foremost? How are things?
Oh, life is good. Life is good. I'm in great spirits. I've had my second vaccine.
Oh, so life is definitely good now.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
On that point, I've always wanted to ask you, where did life is good come from? Where did tell me the origin story behind that? Because even my team and I that have been following your work for years, we use that and always chuckle and say, in Marshall, we love it, the energy behind it. What's the story behind that?
I'm a Buddhist, and Buddha was brought up very rich, and he was protected and lived in a bubble. And he was able to sneak out of the castle 3 times. The first time he learned people get old. Trip number 2, he learned, well, that's not so good. Then he able to sneak out again, people get sick. He thought, oh, that's not so happy. Then he said, trip number 3, you die. You get old, you get sick, and you die. In other words, shit happens. And so he learned, I can't be happy with more.
Yeah.
Then he went out in the woods and starved himself and, tried to live like a hermit. And it didn't work either. He learned you can't be happy with less. So finally, after years of effort, he learned one thing. Can't be happy with more. Can't be happy with less. Only one thing you can ever be happy with, what you have. Only one time you can ever be happy. Now. Only one place you can ever be happy, here. So life is good. Here it is.
I think your work now more than ever is even more important. And I've definitely been leaning on some of your work myself personally as a CEO here. It's definitely been a tough time as well. It's kind of unprecedented times. And for many leaders, this pandemic and this crisis is unlike any other that they've experienced.
Right.
What are your kind of observations over the past 12 months? And, what are some of the practices that you're kind of helping leaders with in times of crisis?
The first thing I think for everybody, whether a leader or not a leader, it's very hard to keep in focus today. You could almost spend all day just watching the news or doing the death count or something, right? So it's very, very challenging and difficult to stay in focus. One of the things I really help leaders is just try to maintain a sense of presence. And so I'll start out by giving everybody one suggestion. As you go from Zoom call to Zoom call to Zoom call, and ask yourself one question: am I being the person that I want to be right now? I learned this from my friend Carol Kaufman at Harvard, and it's a great question. Am I being the person that I want to be right now? To me, as I said, I've probably read 400 books on Buddhism, and mindfulness is a very popular topic right now. Well, to me, that's the best suggestion in history about mindfulness. And just keep it in front of you all the time, because it's so very hard to keep in focus. Another good place to learn is the world's most popular poem, the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Bhagavad Gita, which is an Indian philosophy epic, it has 2 characters. One is the general and famous archer, and then the other is a charioteer played Krishna. And the one guy's saying, I got 2 choices here, bad and worse. Bad and worse. And this is bad. And what's the message? Message really, one is, what is this? Make peace with what is. You can't change what you can't change. 2, you don't become fixated on outcomes you cannot control. You focus your whole life on what you can control, not what you cannot control. Then you have a clear strategy and you do your best. And that's just a great way during this crisis is, you've got to let go of what you can't change, have a clear strategy, keep focused on the moment and do your best.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something I your last point is something I really struggled with early on, is focusing on all those things that I can't control.
Right.
And my energy was going towards those things as opposed to control the controllables and focus on what I can affect, whether it's my mental health and well-being, the way I'm sleeping, my productivity, all those things that actually take care of me personally, which then affect my people and our business. But it's really easy to be caught up in the news and everything that's going on around us, right?
Get lost. Get lost. Let me give you another the parable of the golfer and the beer can. The golfer is going to the 18th tee. He just has a chance to win the championship of his little country club for the first time. Force him in front of him, loud, noisy, drinking, really annoys him. So he still kind of focuses, concentrates, and he says, I'm going to do good. He hits the drive right down the fairway. Looks perfect on the left side. Boom. The ball hits something. It goes into the rough. Terrible lie. What happened? He walks toward the ball, and there's a beer can. The idiots in front of him left a beer can on the golf course. He is so angry. Yeah, idiots, fools. He walks to the ball. What's the golfer need to do? Breathe. Forget about the beer can. Forget about the idiots in front of you. Forget about the drive. Forget about winning the tournament. Come up with a strategy. Now, if your strategy is go for the green, go for the green. If your strategy is go for the fairway and play up, do that. Come up with a strategy. Walk up to the ball. Breathe, hit the shot in front of you. Well, today, that's what's really important, I think. Get people to focus on hit the shot in front of you, not just get lost on stuff you can't control, and really get people focused on what can you control. Really get people focused on what can you control. Just hit the shot that's in front of you.
What about from a communication perspective? It seems that many leaders, especially HR leaders who listen to our show, part of their role now over the last year or so has been communication, and almost like they're PR and comms at this point as well. But the shift in landscape and narrative keeps changing every day. Something's new. We're out of lockdown. We're back in lockdown. What advice would you give to leaders about how to effectively communicate during times of crisis when they're not really sure what's around the corner?
I would say my advice to leaders on this is real simple. I'm going to teach everyone a process called 6-question coaching. Now, this is a process that I've used in my regular coaching, but it works even better today with this crisis. A little bit of history. In my role as an executive coach, I have a unique billing system. I don't get paid if my clients don't get better. So better is not judged by me, and it's not judged by them. Better is judged by everyone around my clients. It's called stakeholder-centered coaching. Well, you can always test if someone believes what they're saying. You can ask a person one question and instantly determine their level of belief. I've never seen this question fail. What's the question? Do you want to bet on it? You want to bet on it? Now they say, I believe it, but I don't want to bet on it. They don't believe it. They don't believe it. They say, here's the money. They believe it. Now they may be wrong, but they believe it when they put down the money, right? Well, question. I bet on this every time. When you get paid for results, you learn simplicity and humility. I'm going to share a coaching process that I've used with 7 of my CEO clients, and I got paid 7 times out of 7. And this really is good during the pandemic. One of my coaching clients is Jim Morton. Jim was the CEO of the John Hancock Life Insurance Company. The first year I worked with Jim, he got a 4 percentile in terms of providing, I take it back, got 8 percentile in terms of coaching and feedback, I remember. The last year he got a 98. He went from an 8 to a 98. This is all he did. I've done this with CEO General Mills. I've done this with the CEO of CalPERS, just big organization, always works. And it's really good for time of crisis. All right. And by the way, if anyone's interested, send me an email, Marshall at marshallgoldsmith.com. I'll send them a copy of this. Just call it 6-question coaching process. Now, here's how it works. Every leader, you have a dialogue with each of your direct reports, one-on-one dialogue on an as-needed basis. I'm going to talk about what that means in a second. You cover 6 basic questions. Question number 1, where are we going? Talk to the person and you say, where are we going? What are priorities, the bigger picture? Then you ask, where do you think we should be going? Because you want this to be a dialogue. Question 2, where are you going? Where do you think you and your part of the business is going? And then same thing, where do you think you should be going? Because you want alignment between the big picture and the small picture, and you want alignment between you and the other person. Question number 3, doing well. Here's what I see you and your part of the business is doing very well. And you ask a question. What do you think you're doing well? What are you proud of? A very good question during the pandemic, because a lot of times leaders don't recognize others because you don't really appreciate what they're doing. Ask.
Yeah.
Ask, what are you proud of? And sometimes you learn stuff. Like they may say, we worked so hard to put that proposal together and we spent all weekend. And I didn't know that. I should recognize people. Question number 4 is suggestions for the future. Now, my work is, I'm really big on feed forward more than feedback.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can't change the past anyway. So feed forward. As the leader, I might say, here's ideas moving forward I think could make things better. And then you ask the person, if you were the coach for you, what ideas and suggestions might you have for yourself? Now, very good question. One of my coaching clients was George Borst, B-O-R-S-T, head of Toyota Financial Services, multi-hundred-billion-dollar company. George was very skeptical about question 4. He thought people would say fluff. Oh, I work too hard and I'm too dedicated and blah, blah, blah. He said he was surprised. More than half the time when he asked, if you were the coach for you, what idea would you have for you? Their ideas are better than his ideas. He'd say, okay, well, forget my idea. Let's do your idea. And then finally, final 2, question 5, how can I help as your manager? How can I help you? And then question 6, what ideas and suggestions might you have for me? Here's what I'm trying to improve. Here's what I want to get better. Give me ideas. Feed forward. Another good coaching client is Hubert Joly. Hubert was CEO of Best Buy. Best Buy was down the drain. I don't know if you remember this. They were finished. That company has done a dramatic turnaround. Spectacular leader. Hubert has everyone in the company be ready to ask that question. He said, we all have something to improve. And everybody's trained to say, here's what I want to improve. Give me ideas. And listen and say thank you. Feed forward. It's a great idea. And by the way, what I tell leaders is this. If you cannot think of even one thing you need to improve, pick humility. Yeah, if you had nothing to improve, pick humility. You might want to try that one out, right? Yeah. Well, then here's the key to make this work, though. The key is called mutual responsibility. So as a leader, what you would say is, look, we're going through this time of crisis. I'm going to share what I consider to be the basics, these 6 basic questions. Number 1, when I say here's where we're going, I mean here's where we're going now. This may change in 3 months. It may change in 6 months. It may change in 6 hours. We're at a period of rapid change. At any second in time, though, I want you to be clear. And at any time at all, if you have ambiguity, doubt, or confusion, you're overcommitted, I want you to talk to me. If I do my job as your manager on a regular basis and you take responsibility in between, mutual responsibility, there's no reason we should have any problems. Well, again, how often you do this, you do it as much as you need to do it. And during periods of rapid change, you're going to have to do it more. Here's the point, though, back to the golfer. At any second in time, the people that work with you need to know, what's my strategy? What are we doing here? What's the plan? Block out everything else. Hit the shot in front of you. Because at any second in time, that's all you can do anyway.
It's true.
All you can do is hit the shot.
Yeah. Love that, and super practical. And just so you know, everyone in the comment section is absolutely loving it, Marshall. And I was going to ask you, how often should I do that? But with my team, that was my question. But you answered it already, saying how, when necessary and when needed. If there's more times of uncertainty, then communicate that. Right. One thing I've been surprised at, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in, is how vulnerable many leaders have been through this to admit and communicate that they don't have all the answers.
This is a big deal right now. Adam Grant has a new book called Think Again, which is a great book. And it talks about this. Every leader I coach gets confidential feedback. So in my coaching, every leader gets confidential feedback. They all pick what they need to improve. They all publicly acknowledge what they want to improve. They ask for help. Now, here's something I'm proud of. 30 years ago, no CEO would do this.
Yeah.
No CEO would do this. I'm very proud of this. My book triggers 27 major CEOs endorsed that book. 27. And this were not small CEOs. I mean, hey, I was CEO of the year in the United States. I need help. I was number 2 CEO of the year in the United States. I need help. I'm president of the World Bank. I need help. I won the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I need help. Every one of them has to do that. If they don't do it, I don't work with them. Well, 30 years ago, nobody would do that. Who are we kidding? We all need help here. And by the way, if you had a leader that admits they need help, you think less of them or more of them?
More.
Of course.
Yeah.
How many of the top 10 tennis players have coaches?
Yeah.
10?
All of them.
Yeah, do you think they're going to stand up and say, "Oh, excuse me, my name is Roger Federer. I don't need a coach. No, I don't need help. No, I'm God, right? I don't need help." Of course they need help. We all need help. And back to being vulnerable, get over that nonsense of somehow I have to put on this macho act. Let me give you an extreme example of this, which really makes your point. One of the greatest leaders I've ever coached is Alan Mulally. Now, Alan was the CEO of Boeing Commercial Aircraft when I worked with him, and then he went over to be the CEO of Ford. He goes there, the stock is $1.01. He leaves $18.40. The stock went up 1,837% while he was the CEO. And an HR perspective, a 97% approval rating as a CEO from every employee in a union company. Think of that. A union company giving a CEO a 97% approval rate. That doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen. An amazing man. Now, let me tell you a story about Alan that illustrates your point about vulnerability. Alan goes to Ford. They're losing $17 billion in 1 year. Not million. No, $1 billion in 1 year. So Alan says, okay, to the top 16 leaders, let's talk about your priorities. Red, yellow, green. Green is I'm on plan. Yellow is I'm not on plan, but I have a strategy. And red is I'm not on plan, but I have no strategy. I'm kind of lost. Red, yellow, green. And so 16 leaders, 5 priorities apiece, 80 priorities. Red, yellow, green. The first meeting, they're losing $17 billion, 80 green. It's all green. All green. Every leader on plan.
I would love to have seen his face. No.
So Alan says, well, we are losing $17 billion.
Yeah.
And we're all on plan. Maybe it's not a great plan.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it's a bad plan. Terrible plan.
That's the worst possible outcome.
Let's go do it again. Finally, one guy says, red. I'm red. I am not on plan. I don't red. Alan stands up and applauds. Thank you for saying red. He applauds. Then he says, you're not on plan. You don't know how to get there. It's okay. Then he said, he didn't give the guy any suggestions. He said, I don't know the answer to this. He'd never been in a car company before. He said, why don't we get some smart young people in here and figure out what to do? He gets the people on his team involved. They're smart people. He gets them all involved. And the problem is solved in 10 minutes. Now, that may sound obvious. How many CEOs ever say, you don't know what you're doing, you're lost, it's okay. And by the way, I know less than you. I don't hear that too much.
Yeah.
Well, the reality is you do know less than them if you're the CEO. You hopefully know less than them.
That's why you hired them.
That's why you hired them, right? Yeah. And by the way, Peter Drucker said people manage knowledge workers today. What's the definition of a knowledge worker? They know more of what they're doing than their boss does. Well, if you manage knowledge workers, how can you tell them what to do and how to do it? Now, another good point about this, back to your point, what would have happened if Alan would have said, have you thought of this? Yes, sir. See, one of my coaching clients was JP Garnier. JP was the CEO of GlaxoSmithKline. I asked JP, what'd you learn about leadership as a CEO of this huge company? He said, I've learned a hard lesson. My suggestions become orders. My suggestion, if they're smart, they're orders. If they're stupid, they're orders. If I want them to be orders, they are orders. If I do not want them to be orders, they're orders anyway. My suggestions become orders. For 9 years, I trained the admirals in the U.S. Navy. What's the first thing I teach those admirals? You get that star? Your suggestions become orders. Admirals do not make suggestions. Admirals give orders. Well, if Alan Mulally would have said, have you thought of, what would have happened?
Yeah, he would have went straight ahead and done it.
And by the way, you know what they just said? I'm the boss. I tell you to do this. You say, that sounds stupid. You don't say, the CEO told me to tell you this.
Yeah,
How often have you seen that happen?
a lot. Yeah. And even when it's good intention, like even when you have good intentions, it still has the same impact that you're referring to. When we went through all of this, I was really tempted to suggest to the team how I think we can reinvent the business and go
Yeah.
through. But I was like, just hold back, Chris. And I had a meeting with the team and said, what do you think we should do? Because we can either furlough everyone and wait it out, like most people were doing, taking government benefits and waiting it out. But I didn't share this with the team. But at the time, I didn't think there would be a business to come back to.
Yeah.
So I had that conversation with the team and said, what do you think we should do? And like you said, they had better ideas than me of how to get through it. And here we are on the other end. But it was very tempting to go, here's what we're doing, here's where we're going. But I didn't actually know.
Well, before you start talking, as a CEO, ask this question. Does anyone in the company know more about this topic than me? Now, if the answer to that question is yes, then another question is, why am I speaking? Why am I speaking? If there are other people in the company who know more than me, exactly why am I speaking? Because all I'm going to do is screw things up. Just shut up. It's hard.
It is hard.
You know why it's hard? We've all spent an entire lifetime doing one thing, proving how smart we are over and over and over. How many tests have you taken in your life? Test after test after test after test. Prove you're smart, prove you're smart, prove you're smart, prove you're smart. And if you do, what do people say? Oh, he's smart. Yay. Oh, how about you get a D? Ooh, dumb, dumb, stupid, stupid. It's very difficult to stop. It is very difficult to stop proving how smart we are, how special we are, how wonderful we are, and to realize I don't have to do that. When you're at the bottom, it's all about you. When you become a leader, it's about them. And it's very hard to make this transition from an achiever, which is me, to a leader, which is them. Easy in theory, but very hard in practice.
I really struggled with that. I was a very high
Uh,
performing sales executive,
yeah,
very high performance in sales, and I was just given this leadership role. So,
yeah,
of course, because Chris is good at sales, he should automatically be a great leader. That seems to be the rationale
right.
of my boss at the time. And all of a sudden, I went from being an individual contributor and to all of a sudden being in this leadership role, but I still had that individual contributor mindset. Like I
Right.
had to solve all of the problems. I had to have all the answers. And it took me a long time to actually understand what you're referring to and actually understand that in reality, I work for them
Right.
is the way I looked at it. But it took a long time
Yeah.
to shift. What takes someone from being a good leader to a great leader, Marshall? What are the
Well,
skills, attributes that you see?
I don't know everything about overall what it takes to be, for example, a CEO. My area is helping leaders achieve positive change in behavior. So there are three variables that differentiate the leaders I coach that get better and the ones that don't. And by the way, I am not one of the variables. Key variable is certainly not me. All right. Now, three things. You have to have courage. It takes courage to look in the mirror. It takes courage to get feedback. It takes courage to admit the truth. Two, you have to have humility. You know what I've learned? I cannot help perfect people get better because if you're perfect, there's not much I'm going to do to help you. And number three, it takes discipline to do the day work to get better. Another article I wrote, and again, if you want a copy, send me an email. It's called Leadership as a Contact Sport. 86,000 people from around the world in this research study. And they all went to the same program. It's taught by me. They got feedback on the same process. They're supposed to do this stuff. We measure, do they get better? You know what I learned? The people that did this stuff got better. Shockingly, though, the people that did nothing didn't get better. Now, I've got good news. They didn't get worse. No,
Yeah.
they stayed the same. They didn't get worse. I didn't hurt anybody. They just didn't get better. Well, Arnold Schwarzenegger said, nobody got muscles by watching me lift the weights. You got to do the work. And, all this stuff I teach, it works. Shockingly, It just doesn't work if you don't do it. And the hard part is not understanding it. It's doing it. So back to my friend Alan. So Alan, when he was at Boeing, I'm his coach, right? And again, I have this pay for results thing, but I explain exactly what I do. So he looks at me the first time I talked to him and said, well, you do this and this and this and this, and then that leads to this, and then the results are this and this. That's about it. Now he said, well, is there like something else to this, a little different or something I'm missing? No, nope. That's it. He looked at me, he goes, I built that Boeing 777 airplane. That's complicated, building an airplane, very complex. He said, I think I can do this. I can handle it, right? So I started coaching out. It was after about 2 months. It's obvious he's going to get better and I'm going to get paid, right? So I said to him, well, Alan, I'm getting paid a lot of money here. It's kind of embarrassing because it took me about 10 minutes to explain this to you. So is there anything else we can do to kind of, perk this up, so justify my income here?
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we just do this with everybody? So we just start doing it with all his people, right?
Wow.
Everybody gets better. So then I asked Alan years later, I said, of all the people I've ever coached, you improved the most. I spent the least amount of time with you, and you were fantastic to start with. What should I learn about coaching from you? He said, Marshall, you got one challenge as a coach: customer selection. You pick the right customer, you win. You pick the wrong customer, you lose. Your whole job is customer selection. And that changed my life. That changed my life. Now, why do I always get ranked #1 coach in the world? Nobody knows I'm a good coach. You don't know if I'm a good coach or not. Nobody knows that. Why? I got the best customers. And you know what? They all tell everybody I'm a good coach.
Yeah.
I know the secret. You want to be a good coach? Get good customers. It's like you're a basketball coach. One coach has all the all-stars, right?
Yeah.
Another coach has all the losers. Who wins? Coach the best players. You win. Coach the bad players. You lose. That's the way it works, right?
Yeah.
So I broke the code.
How do you then how do you identify that those are the right customers though?
Oh, very, very simple. The first thing I do is I describe, if I coach you, you will get confidential feedback. You will pick important behavior to improve. You will follow up. You will do this. You will apologize, blah, blah, blah. And then what if they say they don't want to do that? Oh, what do I say?
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Now, again, to be perfectly fair to the other coaches out there, at this age in my life, I have a little advantage. A little bit of advantage. Imagine you're the future CEO. Now I'm going to say to you, okay, I will work with you if you do all this stuff. And if you don't, I just won't work with you. What if you said, no, I'm not going to do that? Think about that to me. You know what I'd say? Okay. I guess I have to go back to the board of directors and tell them, I just can't help you. I can't help you. Now, you see that list of those other 50 famous people? I helped all of them, but I guess I just can't help you. Well, that would indicate that one of us must have a big problem, wouldn't it? Yeah. Is it me?
Oh God. Have you been in that position before, Marshall?
Yeah.
Have you? Oh my God. I would love to.
I had one person who didn't work with me. This was only one. She was a future CEO. I told her, I said, fine, bye. I walk out the door. The CEO says, oh, when do you start? I said, I don't start. Why? She don't want to do this stuff. He said, what? No, she didn't want to get feedback and apologize. No, she won't do that. He said, what? No, she didn't want to do it. He said, please accept my apologies. Let me pay you for wasting your time. I said, no, don't worry about it. 6 months later, out. This is like a one question IQ test. Do you want to do this or not? Yes, no. Yes, good. No, bad. How complicated is this?
Yeah, it's important though.
The CEO is writing a huge check to help her. By the way, that's 35 years. That happened once. It doesn't happen much.
No, but I think it's a good example though, because some people just don't want to be a coach. You see it in a lot of competitive sports that I've played as well. Same thing. If you don't want to be coached, then you're not part of the team. When I played ice hockey, it was the same. If you want to be coached, then you're not part. See you later.
And by the way, in terms of helping people that don't care, I've learned a very difficult lesson. You know what that lesson is? My name is Marshall Goldsmith, not Jesus Christ. Well,
Not much you can do.
I can't save people. I'm not in the savior business. So if they don't care, guess what? I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the questions that I've got a few people message me, Marshall, is obviously our audience are predominantly HR executives, and they're asking, given everything you've said, what role can HR play? Where can HR have impact?
Okay. To me, Peter Senge was asking a great question. Can you make a big difference in a company without the approval of the CEO? Well, the answer is yeah, you can make a difference at any level of an organization if you have the support of the leadership at that level and it's not sabotaged from above. So back to HR, I really like the idea of measuring success, qualify your customers. All of HR is just like my coaching. Almost everything in HR works. It doesn't work if they don't do it. Well, just say, look, here's the program. First, you got to get top management to do it, not to talk about it. They have to do the work. If they are role models, they do the work and they set the environment, the HR stuff almost always worked. If they don't, you're wasting time. So that's one message. Message number two is a message I got from Peter Drucker. I'm very blessed because I got to spend 50 days with Peter Drucker, founder of Modern Management. I got ranked #1 leadership thinker in the world. My brain compared to his 10-year-old boy. I mean, that guy was smart. So Peter Drucker taught me this, a great lesson for HR leaders. Every decision in life is made by the person who has the power to make the decision. Make peace with that. Not the smartest person, the best person, a logical person, or a fair person. Decisions are made based on one and only one variable, power. Whoever has the power to make the decision makes the decision. Now, if I need to influence you and you have the power to make the decision, there's one word to describe you. That word is customer. There's one word to describe me. That word is salesperson. Sell what you can sell. You sell what you can sell. You change what you can change. If you can sell it, sell it. You can change it, change it. If you cannot sell it and you cannot change it, you take a deep breath. Let it go. Let it go.
Just giving us so much great advice, and I also want to make sure our audience can follow you and learn more, because you've got some interesting projects that you're working on right now. So share some more about that with everyone and where they can check them out. Because talking about the life plan review, talking about knowledge philanthropy. Tell everyone a bit more about that.
I'm going to do a little history so it makes sense.
Sure.
A few years ago, I went to a program that was taught by a woman named Ayşe Bursel. She's one of the world's top designers. She's from Turkey. And it was on Design the Life You Love. Design the life you love. So she said, who are your heroes? Well, my heroes, I've already mentioned some. Alan Mulally is a hero. Peter Drucker is a hero. Jim Kim, president of World Bank, is a hero. Francis Hesselbein, former head of the Girl Scouts. These are heroes of mine. #1 coach and thinker, and I'm going to give everything to 15 people for free. If you get old, when you get older, you do the same thing. I'm thinking 100 people would apply. Then I adopt 15 young people, and I'm an old man. They follow me around, they laugh at my jokes, and they make comments, and then they get old and they adopt 15 people, and the cycle of life. I was wrong. Now on LinkedIn, I do have 1.3 million followers. So I ended up with over 18,000 people applied to be adopted. So now I've adopted
You've got a problem.
Yeah, well, now I've got 250 people. It says the program is called 100 Coaches, but they're actually about 250. And if you look up 100coaches.com, you see who they are. I mean,
they're amazing.
Amazing people.
Most of them have been on the show as well, by the way, Marshall. So they're amazing individuals.
They're amazing people. So anyway, then so back to knowledge philanthropy. 100 Coaches, a wonderful project. Then another project I'm working on is knowledge philanthropy. And basically, I want to impact as many people as I can now and in the future in the time I have left to do it. And again, I'm 72. I don't have forever here. So I want to just make the biggest impact I can make in the time I have left. Well, that's been a great project, because what I'm really focusing on is how to, do things and just give it all away. So I'm going to package everything I know as best I can and make it available to as many people as I can. And then I want to be like a pilot project. So other people like my friend Al Mulally or other great, Martin Lindstrom wants to do this, other great thinkers, that they get focused on how can we share knowledge? That's what's called knowledge philanthropy. How can we give away all the knowledge that we have to as many people as we can so that when we're not here, they can do the same thing. They can learn from it and maybe help people. So that's what most of my life right now is about, these projects, which is, I'm hopefully in the give back phase of life. I've been very blessed in life. I've been very blessed. I have many positive things going for me. And so now I'm kind of in this give back period of life. And what I want to be is a pilot, though, so other people can do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that, the great people that have had good thoughts and can help others, it doesn't all disappear. It can even go out into the future. And one woman works with us called Nan Conde. She's one of the 100 coaches, and she wants to use my material to teach high potential leaders in Africa. But I have this model called reverse franchise. So the franchise model is you have intellectual property. You can use it, but you have to use it just like I tell you. And if you don't, I'm going to sue you. Oh, and by the way, you can use it, but you have to pay me money. And if you don't pay me money, I'm going to sue you. My model is different. Have this intellectual property, use it any way you want, put your name on it. I don't care. Change it. It's okay. Do whatever you want to. I don't care. And by the way, you don't have to pay me anything.
Wow. Where can people learn more about this, Marshall? You've obviously shared so much already today, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people listening going, where can I learn more about this?
A couple of things. Just sign up. I hate this term, but sign up to be a follower on LinkedIn is a good place. Number 2 is my website, my name, Marshall Goldsmith, Marshall with 2 L's, goldsmith.com. It's another good place. Or just send me an email, marshall@marshallgoldsmith.com. Go to YouTube. On YouTube, I have 350 videos.
Mm-hmm.
Just put my name in, go to my little YouTube channel. I've got 350 videos on YouTube. So I try to give everything away.
Yeah, amazing. Well, look, it's been a real pleasure, Marshall. Thanks so much. If I was ever going to stay late in the office, today's the day. So I really appreciate all of the work that you do. And I was going to ask you what was the legacy you want to leave, but you've just basically explained that to everyone right now, and it's incredible. We're all thankful for that. Last thing, we've covered a lot today, and in a world of uncertainty, if there is one parting piece of advice that you want to give to our listeners and leaders, not even just leaders, people around the world, what would that be? And then we'll wrap up.
Okay, stop and breathe. Imagine you're 95 years old and you're just getting ready to die. You're on that deathbed. And here comes that last breath. Before you die, you're given a beautiful gift, the ability to go back in time and talk to the person that's listening to me right now. What advice would that wise old person facing death, who knows what mattered and what didn't, have for the youth that's listening to me right now? Whatever you're thinking now, do that. In terms of performance appraisal, that is the only performance appraisal that will ever matter. That old person says you did the right thing, you did. That old person says you made a mistake, you did. You do not have to impress anybody else. Some friends of mine interviewed old folks who are dying and asked them, what did you learn? 3 things. On the personal side, number 1, be happy now. Not next week, not next month. Now, how old are you?
33. I have to think about that for a minute.
You're 33. Well, I'm almost 72. So you can look at me and say, look at that lucky old man. Well, he's got millions of dollars. He sold 2.5 million books. He's living in a big house. He works with all these fancy people. Lucky, lucky old man. You see, you got something I don't have. You know what that's called? 40 years. 40 years. Don't get so busy looking at what you don't have. You miss what you do have. Now, I can tell you one thing. You give me the 40 years, I'm happy to give you a few $1 million.
Deal. No, I don't know if I want to make that deal.
You don't want to make that deal. Number 2 is friends and family.
Yeah.
Don't get so busy climbing up that ladder you forget the people that love you. And then number 3, if you have a dream, go for it. And on the business side, number 1, life is short, have fun.
Amazing. Well, look, thanks so much. And for everyone listening, sorry we didn't get around to all your questions. I promise we'll get there next time. If for everyone listening, if you're new, please like, comment, share. Make sure you head over to Marshall's website. The link's in the description now. You can check out all of his work. Or make sure you follow him on LinkedIn as well. Daily, incredible content that's posted there daily. So make sure you do that as well. Also, follow me on LinkedIn here to be notified next time we go live. Next week, we're going to be joined by Josh Bursin, who's going to be talking about his 2021 predictions. So make sure you tune in for that. Apart from that, enjoy your time with the family on the weekend, relax, disconnect, and we'll see you all next week. But thanks so much, Marshall. See you later. Thanks. Bye-bye.